A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9, verse 18 through 38. While he was saying these things to them, an official came forward, knelt down before him, and said, "My daughter has just died, but come, lay your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus rose and followed him, and so did his disciples. A woman suffering hemorrhages for 12 years came up behind him and touched the tassel on his cloak. She said to herself, "If only I could touch his cloak, I shall be cured." Jesus turned around and saw her and said, "Courage, daughter, your faith has saved you." And from that hour, the woman was cured. When Jesus arrived at the official's house and saw the flute players and the crowd who were making a commotion, he said, "Go away, the girl is not dead, but sleeping." And they ridiculed him. When the crowd was put out, he came and took her by the hand, and the little girl arose. And news of this spread throughout all the land. And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed, crying out, "Son of David, have pity on us." When he entered the house, the blind men approached him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I can do this?" "Yes, Lord," they said to him. Then he touched their eyes and said, "Let it be done for you according to your faith." And their eyes were opened. Jesus warned them sternly, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread words of him through all that land. As they were going out, a demoniac who could not speak was brought to him, and when the demon was driven out, the mute person spoke. The crowds were amazed and said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "He drives out demons by the prince of demons." Jesus went around to all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and curing every disease and illness. At the sight of the crowds, his heart was moved with pity for them, because they were troubled and abandoned, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. So ask the master of the harvest to send out laborers for his harvest." We hear first about this healing of a young girl, and in the middle of her story, the healing of an old woman. That Jesus can heal both the young from death and the old from lifelong sickness. We hear also how Jesus makes the mute man speak. How many of us are afraid to speak and need Jesus to come and open our hearts and open our lips that we might be able to proclaim his love to the world? Then Jesus looks out on the people and has pity on them. He says they are like sheep without a shepherd. We have children, we have parishes, we have people out on the streets who do not have anyone to tell them of the love of God. We must go out like shepherds to proclaim his love to them. Then we have this prayer. Pray to the master of the harvest that he might send out laborers for the harvest. Why? Because the harvest is abundant. We say nobody wants to convert. We say our churches are not growing. It is not because people do not want to come, but because we do not want to get them.